Hello, hello, and welcome back to Your Friendly Neighborhood, a podcast aimed at introducing you to the movers, the makers, the shakers, the business owners, the creators, and the innovators of your small town. My name is Darcy, and I'm your host, and holy crow, it has been a long time. But I'm not being hard on myself with that. Lots of changes, lots of growing in lots of different ways, which we'll get into. But we're back, and I'm so excited to see you all. We will be diving into a solo session today about professional life, personal life, and a little bit about what's going on in your friendly neighborhood. Where do I begin? Okay. The last episode was with Local Lemon, and Lauren stopped in to tell us all about what she was doing. And that was like late spring, I believe. So it has definitely been a while. I have officially opened my second business. And this is an interesting one because it's very different than the Cheesy Pear. If you're new here, I run a local charcuterie business, making fancy charcuterie boards, and show up on social media for that. But this is different. First of all, it's different in what's provided, definitely, but also in the type of business it is. So I'm actually an independent contractor, but part of an amazing team of women, and my business is called The Solace Studio. It's a psychotherapy practice based out of Kingston, providing psychotherapy to those seeking care, compassion, and connection. And guys, I'm loving it. There is so much validation in me being able to say that because as a 30-something single mom signing up for my master's degree, it was absolutely petrifying to put that much time and that much money into something brand new. And then to get to the other side of it and realize that I made the right choice and it's actually working and I do really enjoy it. Just feels really good. So, where are we at? Do I like it? Yes, I absolutely love it. I'm passionate about the work that I do. And if you're looking for a therapist yourself, please reach out to me. I would love to refer you to somebody on our team. And I guess that kind of gets into what do I love about it? Because this podcast is all about diving into business ownership in all different ways, entrepreneurship. And I have to say, first and foremost, I love my clients. I love the conversations that we have, and I love just the type of work that I'm doing. So I love the people. I love everything that makes you you. And this job is all about exploring that. And thirdly, the flexibility. I absolutely love the flexibility, and I recognize now that I could probably never go back to a job that doesn't include this flexibility. I've never had this kind of a flexible career before. So I make my own hours, I schedule in my own appointments, and I can pick up and drop off my kids whenever it works for my family. And honestly, that's just priceless to me. But like everything, there are two sides to the coin, and I do need to confront a bit of an elephant in the room, and that is the glamorization of entrepreneurship. So while there are so many amazing and lovely sides in terms of us getting to use our creativity, put our skills into the world, and this, of course, flexibility, there is a side to it that is challenging, and I think my advice is pick your heart. I mentioned my love for the flexibility, but truly, that same flexibility has been one of my biggest learning curves in this process. And honestly, I haven't learned it yet. But the balance of it all. So managing all of the hats that I wear, which absolutely every entrepreneur would have, managing all of that in the time that I have. So when I have an extra hour, what do I do with that time? And I think being able to flip hats and then being able to prioritize hats has been really challenging for me. It's definitely an ongoing lesson and one that I think I will forever be learning. The next challenge is money, everyone's scariest topic. This drastic change for me, because as somebody who's worked in the corporate world and received a paycheck every 2 weeks since the age of 18, that is no longer the case. So just being able to manage, budget, and prioritize the money end of things has also been a learning curve. And again, something that I think I will just continue to be learning. So my advice when hopping into full-time entrepreneurship or sticking within the corporate world or whatever the opposite is pick your heart. Find a balance, and I might say that my favorite way to start is in picking a side hustle and starting slowly before you jump right in. Okay, so that's a little update on the professional changes in my life. And I want to come and hit you with a new segment. A little what's up in your neighborhood. A segment offering you updated info on what's going on. Things to do, places to go, new products or services that you need to check out. So of course, today we'll be focusing on Kingston and surrounding areas. And let me just pause to say that if you're listening to this and you are somebody that has known me since childhood, you would know how giddy I am to feel like a news anchor right now. Maybe at some point we will figure out a way to attach one of my home videos of me acting like a news anchor and clip this in some way. That's a Joe job, but we'll see what he can do. Okay, Kingston, so what's up? 'Tis the season for holiday markets, and if you're into shopping small, supporting your local creators, and just being blown away by all that they can do and make, you need to check out the Fat Goose Craft Fair happening at Grant Hall at Queens on November 30th. The 4th annual Christmas market at Lions Hall, Napanee, that is December 14th. The Mom Market happening at the Strathcona Paper Centre, that's December 1st. And the Indigenous Holiday Market being hosted at the Tet Centre, December 7th. And of course, Merry Little Main Street Market, December 5th at 5 p.m. in Bath. So a little update on some upcoming markets. Definitely a great place to shop small for the upcoming holidays, gifts, and all of that. But also, in this list of things to check out, my partner and I recently did a date making pottery, and it was an absolute blast. We did this at a Girl and Her Dog pottery studio in the West End of Kingston. But since this event, I've been seeing so many cool classes being offered by Amaranth Stoneware and tons of different options almost weekly for what it is that you can make and the different types of pottery. So whether it's just handcrafting, I think you call it, where you mold the clay yourself, or actually using a wheel. So there's a whole bunch of differences with that, but I'm seeing tons of stuff put out by them. So I think that would be super fun and some things to look out for. So these are more like gift oriented things. The new holiday soap scents from Kate at the Good Home Company. I'm telling you, I would like to squeeze these things onto ice cream because they smell so good. Which actually brings me to another great product, Alicia from Little Pastry Chef and her coffee syrups. I am not a coffee drinker, but I absolutely love her coffee syrups for teas or over ice cream. I've put them into a couple baking dishes as well. And she has these new pancake packages out. I believe they're all gluten-free, but the flavors are amazing. And I absolutely love gifts like this. I think they're such great stocking stuffers, or for that person you never know what to buy for, things like that. Check out her website for sure. As always, be on the lookout for Jen's new luxurious candles from 12.5 Studio. As I mentioned, I'm not a coffee drinker, but the smell of coffee is my absolute favorite, and her coffee scents are next level. I might be late to the game on this one. With holiday minis, Rav from Earthly Mama always puts out an amazing mini session around the holidays, and I can't recommend it enough. They are boho-y and simple and classic, and one thing I love is not too Christmassy. So you could definitely have these photos up throughout the year and not just specific to Christmas time. Lastly, I want to shout out Poppy and Cotton Co. This girl is so cool. I don't actually know her. I would love to get her on here. I would also just love to chat with her because, I'm fangirling a little bit lately. But her personalized art would make such a good gift for the holidays, and I love the personal touch to it. If you know about an upcoming event or new product or service that you would like me to shout out, I would be happy to do so. So just shoot me a message and I'll make sure to include that in an upcoming episode. Okay. Next step. The dirt, the tea. I should have asked my little sister what the new lingo for all of that is, but basically just personal life and answering your questions. So we recently posted a question box on Instagram and I got some really, really great questions. I always love when you guys do that. It's a mix of like business questions, life questions, personal questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer those here. So, first question is, how do you manage all of the priorities or aspects of your life? It seems like you're thriving in all of them. I appreciate the sentiment so much, but it's always so funny because it's never how I actually feel. I feel like I am juggling 1,000 things all of the time and dropping half of them all of the time. So I guess my answer is I'm not. But I think that I also don't super shame myself around this. I love having lots of balls in the air. And if I drop some, I drop some. And I'll pick them back up when I have a chance. This is also, as I mentioned, in terms of opening the Solace Studio and running Cheesy Pear and just mumming and all of that jazz. It's an ever learning lesson. And I think I find new little tips and tricks all the time that work for a while and then have to end up changing them. So lists are my best friend. I write lists like every 2 to 3 days. And if you look at research on lists, I go about this in a very, very wrong way. It says to never add more than 3 things to most lists, 3 to 5, I think it is. I add like 50. And I think what it does is just actually organize everything in my brain for all of the little things I have to do. Everything from things that are actual priorities, like I need to get that done today. I need to make that phone call. I need to process that payment. I need to reach out to that client, something like that, to make a dinner list, to finish laundry, to don't forget to call your uncle and send him a picture of the girls, and little things like that. And I write this entire list. I do actually check off and highlight when I finish something because I need that color difference. I know there's lots of great apps for this, but I'm just not techie enough to get into using them properly. So I use a pen and paper, and I've got Post-it notes everywhere, and I just continue to work through these lists. That sense of accomplishment when you do check off something is enough to motivate me to continue doing that. I also sometimes will write little things beside my to-do list items about, like, for example, I had to call TELUS about my home security camera, which is something I've put off on my list for like over 3 months, but I put on it, do this on your next day off, so I could be home for that to happen. So little things like that definitely help. Time blocking has really helped me. So actually going into my calendar on my phone and writing, like, from this time to this time, you're doing client notes. From this time to this time, you're doing some social media stuff. From this time to this time, you're processing payments. And that kind of time blocking has helped quite a bit. And I find I use that strategy when I'm really overwhelmed with managing all of the things. But if it helps in terms of solidarity, I feel like I'm messing it up all the time too. Number 2, this is a fun one. Your favorite holiday or tradition? Honestly, I was thinking about this and I don't know if I can pick. I have always loved Halloween simply because it's a place to express my creativity, and working on homemade costumes has always been something I've absolutely loved. But I will say in the last like 3 to 4 years for sure, I've not left enough time for this, and I am scrambling 2 nights before Halloween to put costumes together and sew and glue and all of that. Thank God for Amazon and Prime and being able to get things here quickly. But I absolutely love that aspect of Halloween. Christmas, I love the family warmth. I love that, like, being close to family, the coziness of a Christmas season. Not a huge fan of the cold, so sometimes that puts a damper on it. And then honestly, Valentine's Day, I just love hearts. So not so much that I love like all of the expressions of love, which I think are beautiful, but just being able to wear hearts and decorate with hearts is my favorite. Number 6, how do you and your sisters stay so close while all living apart? So I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest. My middle sister's name is Ricky, and she lives in Peterborough. And my youngest sister's name's Kaya, and she lives in Ottawa. We all grew up together in Peterborough, but there is actually quite a significant age difference. So there's 4 years between each of us. So 3 to 4 years between Ricky and I, and then another 4 years between Kaya and I. So Kaya and I are 8 years apart, which means I was going off to university when she was like 9. So very interesting dynamic in that way. We were a very tight-knit family, always have been, did lots together, spent most of our summers together in PEI with no other friends. So we're really often, so we're really forced to be together a lot of the time. which I think was lovely. I think that we love that. I think we love how close our family is. And going forward, I guess, as adults, I think that we still really prioritize family. So we go back to Peterborough to see my mom regularly. We are big in terms of like congratulating and acknowledging and validating and appreciating each other. So if somebody's going through something or been successful at something, we are very good at continuing to acknowledge that. But that's not to say that we don't have discrepancies. Also, we are three very different people, and I don't think we've ever realized how different until we've gotten older and older. I mean, we knew, and it's kind of a joke in our family, that Ricky and I are total opposites. But I think through adulthood, we have just seen like the way we go about things, the way we interpreted things from our childhood, the interests and passions that we have, and just like the overall type of people is actually quite different. But that love is still there, that connection is still there, and we do work really hard on maintaining those relationships. That being said, I would actually love to do an episode with my sisters. We have chatted about this, and we just need to figure out scheduling in terms of everybody getting to the same place. I guess so that you can kind of see a little bit about our dynamic, but then also my middle sister, so Ricky, has continued on my dad's business, and that's a business we haven't explored on this podcast yet in terms of type of business and what I would like to call a legacy business. So that's something that we would love to get into, and I hope that gets booked soon. I'll do my best on that one. Number 7, not being from Kingston, how did you find your local boss babe group of friends? I think this is such a good question, and I was contemplating the answer a little bit, and my first response was social media. But then my second response was organically. And I think what I mean by that is it's happened through social media, but very organically. I'm not somebody that ever went looking for this group. It is probably, and I've mentioned in many episodes, one of my favorite things about being a small business owner is the community that has been developed around other entrepreneurs, creators, innovators, all of them. I absolutely love the community that I've become a part of, but it was never totally intentional, probably because I didn't actually know it existed in the way that it does. But through social media, I've been able to connect with people in liking their content, in commenting on their content, in sending DMs and asking questions about the products or services that they offer, questions about them, cheering them on in personal and business life. And then through that, I think seeing more events, becoming part of more events, even something like Rav as a photographer. So using Rav as a photographer for me and my daughter at one point, and chatting during our session, and then doing a second session, chatting a little more, realizing that we connect, and then reaching out for partnerships and things like that in the future. And then now somebody that was a business friend is also a personal friend. So in that sense, I would say it's been very organic. Yeah, we'll leave that one there. I think that's it. Number 8. Okay, this one's switching topics a little bit. So how do you describe your parenting style? Is it different than your parents or your sisters? I have no idea how to describe it. It's just, I think in so many ways, we actually all parent in our own ways. I mean, I feel like maybe the only like titles I know are gentle parenting or authoritative parenting. Growing up, I was definitely in more of an authoritative parenting relationship with my parents. But with that, there was definitely a friendship and a respect. So while there was like fear and punishment and authoritation, is authoritation a word? Authority? I'm not sure. We also had like a good, respectful relationship. And I think that I try and balance that with my own kids too. Maybe slightly less authoritative, less domineering, but also recognizing that I run the show. So it's a good balance of that. There are pieces of gentle parenting that I can definitely buy into, validating certain emotions, at least being able to name emotions. But I'm also not against saying that this emotion doesn't match the scenario, and we need to find a way to get over that and attach an appropriate emotion to whatever said scenario. And like every parent, I fail sometimes too. So there's definitely times I react in a way that I wish I didn't. And I think in my learning through psychology and that sort of thing, the best advice I can give for that is repair. So I will not be a perfect parent. You will probably not be a perfect parent. And I don't actually have that expectation of myself. When I fail, my goal is to repair, and I would recommend repairing in the moment. So if you mess up in a circumstance with your child, that you then repair that situation right as soon as you recognize that. But also being able to repair through repetition. So recognizing like, I handled that in a way I didn't love. I don't think it was like hugely damaging, but I want to try it this way. And so that's a big thing too. I think there's a lot of trial and error. And I would say if I'm to maybe give myself a title as a parent, it's an intentional parent. So I do put a lot of intention into my parenting. I really pay attention to how I'm handling situations, how I'm handling my girls, and why I'm choosing to react to something in a certain way. I recognize there's a good chance I'm going to be wrong, but I definitely have the intention behind it. And I think that as they get older, they will learn that. And my sisters, so Ricky does have 2 babies now. So she's got a 3-year-old and a almost 2-month-old. And they're so sweet. How are Ricky and I different? There's definitely like the little things that I think will be different with absolutely everybody in terms of like screen time and juice and red dye, like those little specific things that I think we do things slightly differently on. But I don't really think there's anything major. I am maybe, I don't know. I was going to say more relaxed, but I don't mean Ricky's uptight. I mean that I maybe don't care quite as much, and that's maybe not a good thing. Yeah, she is a mom 100% of the time. And yeah, she has moved into that motherhood role so incredibly naturally and so intentionally. And I really admire that in her, for sure. Number 9, would you ever expand or take on staff? This is such a loaded question for me because it's something I've been thinking about for probably a year and a half. I would love to, in terms of taking things off my plate, but still bringing money into my family. I'll be honest, I've like considered closing Cheesy Pear. I've considered completely changing Cheesy Pear. I've considered Cheesy Pear being nothing but an Instagram page because I still really enjoy the creativity and the connection. But sometimes just the product, the finances, all of that doesn't seem to make sense. I have made a lot of considerations with that. And then one being, do I hire somebody who does that work for me and I'm still able to bring in some income to support my family? And the answer is I would love to. I have never taken the time to figure out logistics on that, which is probably something I should put on my to-do list. But yeah, I guess the answer is yes. I have considered expanding. I have considered taking on a staff, and I think a staff prior to fully expanding because, again, of the commitment and just the time that would come into that. But if you are somebody that has taken on a staff and knows a little bit about how that works and what you did and if it was formal or casual or what, please DM me. I would love to have a conversation about that. Also, if you are somebody that would like to work for Cheesy Pear, also reach out. I have had a couple people in the past, and I do have a friend that helps me out regularly with actual Cheesy Pear creations and things like that. But yeah, I would love for you to reach out if you have any ideas on that or any thoughts or want to join, and we can play with it. Okay. Number 10, top 3 tips for living in the moment. Okay. I actually think there's one answer, And the answer is mindfulness. I'm going to be honest, had I said that a year and a half ago, I would have felt like I should be, like sitting here like this. Mindfulness and the concept of mindfulness has hugely changed for me. And I used to think that mindfulness and meditation were like one and the same. And while they're definitely tightly connected, they are not the same. And the way that I describe it is, when you're driving to work or walking the same trail that you do every day or path that you do every day, and you're walking along or driving along and you see a house and you're like, I've never seen that house before. And I have driven this or walked this 500 times minimum. That just goes to show me how not mindful of human beings that we are and how not present we are. And I work really hard on being present. I think my benefit in this, or my magic key that I was so lucky to have that many people don't, is that I had a very, very mindful parent, a very present parent, a very intentional parent. And I think just through nurture, through modeling, I got a lot of that. So I consider myself a fairly mindful and present person. But sometimes, of course, like the thinking ahead, which also, the anxiety kind of ties into that. But I would say the intention to be mindful is number one. Do you have that intention? Number two, actual grounding exercises. So when you feel yourself, I kind of call it getting flighty. When I feel myself getting overwhelmed or anxious or like too busy, I will use some grounding techniques. Honestly, my favorite one is just to ask myself, like, Darcy, where are your feet planted right now? And I just repeat that over in my head, and my head goes ahead and gives me a description of where my feet are planted right now. Do my feet feel cold? Do my feet feel sweaty? Does my toe hurt? Do I have weight in a certain area of my foot? What does the ground feel like under my feet? And really getting descriptive about that can bring me into this present moment. And then lastly is in relation to the choices that we make in a day. So I choose my life. I am choosing to sit here and do this podcast right now. And when I am playing with my kids and we're at the dollhouse, I am choosing to sit down at that dollhouse and play dolls with them. When I'm making dinner, I am choosing to stand at the stove and make dinner. And I think that if we have that intentional choice in our life and we recognize that it's a choice and we're not just always going through the motion, that is mindfulness, and that is how we live in the present moment. I could probably talk about this topic forever and maybe do like an entire episode on the psychology behind that and tips and skills and all of that. But that's kind of where I'll leave it right now. Number 11, can you talk about finances when owning multiple businesses, and how stressful or secure is that? I love this question so much because money can just be so taboo. And I'm going to keep it somewhat brief. I will mention I did obviously talk about this a little bit at the beginning, in that being a big learning curve for me. So going from a job where I had a paycheck every 2 weeks to moving to multiple jobs where I get money at all different times, totally different amounts of money at all different times. And I guess I will say it's a struggle in learning how to budget and balance all of that. And so far, all I've learned, and I do think I actually learned this prior to moving into full entrepreneurship, is multiple streams of income. So even when I got my paycheck every 2 weeks, for as long as I can remember, I've had other ways of making money. And then the way that I've always looked at it is kind of like, could I make enough money this month outside of my regular paycheck to pay my cell phone bill? So can I make an extra $100 in some way, shape, or form? And this is where all of the different skills come in that I have learned to monetize in some way, shape, or form. So Cheesy Pear is an obvious one. For 4 years now, I've been doing Cheesy Pear. And while I worked for the city and got a paycheck every 2 weeks, I would do Cheesy Pear on evenings, weekends, whenever I got an order, and would make decent money at bringing in this extra income. And this extra income can go towards necessity kind of of things, but also towards the fun things. So sometimes I would use that specifically for a vacation fund or a home renovation or just something that I wanted. And I love the freedom that I have with that money, is feeling like if I want something, I'm allowed to get it because I really worked for it and I saw the product of my labor, I guess. So I would say that has always been a good balance. And then now, with the way that I'm paid now through these few different business ownerships, is again the multiple streams of income. So knowing that I have a primary income and I get paid typically on a certain day of the month from that, and then knowing that I can continually bring in money in different ways. So I've got Cheesy Pear, I've got the Solace Studio, I teach first aid, I have a rental income. What else? That might be it. I think that's it right now. But I would highly recommend having a skill that you know you can monetize. And if you are honestly at any age, but if I'm to give any advice to somebody coming out of high school and going into college or university or post-secondary of any kind, I would highly recommend taking the time to get certified in some sort of skill set that is always needed and can always make money. So while the charcuterie boards are great, there is actually no guarantee that that is going to be a moneymaker forever, whereas teaching first aid always will be a moneymaker. For as long as we can see right now anyway. I got my certification for that at like 19, and I have been renewing every 3 years since. And I don't do it that often anymore, but when I'm short on money, when I specifically want something, when somebody reaches out to me to ask for it, it's an easy way to make a decent amount of money. And again, just one of those things on your resume that never go away. I want to mention one other thing too. I would love to have an accountant on the podcast. There's a lot of specific tax questions that I think would be really beneficial for everybody to hear, and really just diving into the world of entrepreneurship and how that works financially. So that will be an upcoming episode at some point. So stay tuned for that one. Number 12, what do you value most in friendship? I could pick a specific value off of a values list, but I think this changes slightly based on the phase of life you're in. And the phase of life I've been in for the last while has definitely been very busy, and maybe a slight change in priorities. So I'm in a fairly new relationship. I have small children. I am starting a new business. I have just finished school, like all of these aspects of my life, which have honestly taken a little bit of a priority over friendships in the last year, maybe. I think I mentioned on here, but maybe not, that I believe it was in 2022, my New Year's resolution was to create an intention around friendships. And it might have been in 2021. That was outstanding for me, to like truly put effort into the friends that I had in my life, and make dinner plans and make weekend plans and chat with them and answer messages and even just send reels and like all of that, but really prioritizing true friendships. And that was huge for me and has carried on significantly. Like I said, my priorities at the moment have changed slightly, but I've built those friendships enough. And what I value most in them right now is that ability to continue to come back to them whenever you need. So even if you don't talk for 2 weeks, you know, as soon as you have something to say, that you pick up where you left off all of the time. So those are the friendships that are so valuable to me right now. And I think just the ebb and flow of human relationship. Okay, number 14, how's life? How's the transitions with your partner? And do you have any news? If you have been on my social media in the last 24 hours, I've got some big news. So I am pregnant. I am almost 18 weeks pregnant. And this is super exciting for my whole family. So my partner and I, this will be his first baby. This will be my third baby. And my girls are 6 and 4 right now. And so a little bit of an age gap there. This is a very high risk pregnancy, but all is going well as of right now. And we are super excited. So I guess needless to say, the transitions are going very well. Yeah, and there will be a new baby as of the very beginning of April. and things will have to change again, and we'll jump into that. So thank you so much. This solo episode was pretty fun. I am excited to get some new guests back on. We do have a whole lineup of people that are willing and able, and we just need to coordinate schedules. So please give me a little bit of grace with that. I want to say thank you. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting me both personally and professionally in all my business ventures. And with that, we will see you next time. XOXO, your friendly neighborhood podcast host.